We started the firm developing vision plans for socially and physically challenged neighborhoods, like the ones I grew up in, to help provide some hope to businesses and residents that their community could be just as good as any community anywhere.
Welcome to the Wealth Generator Podcast. I'm Dorian Carter, owner of On Point Partners and as well as On Point Commercial. Glad to be back with you today, talking to one of the statesmen. I won't call him elder, but one of the statesmen of architecture and business and entrepreneurship here in Charlotte. Welcome, Darrel. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Glad to be here.
Great. Darrel Williams, owner, CEO of Neighboring Concepts, one of the largest architectural firms and most successful architectural firms in the Southeast. And so glad to have you today. And want to talk a little bit, if you can tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started.
And again, glad to be here. Appreciate this opportunity. But yeah, my family and I moved to Charlotte in 1983 after spending 4 years in Denver, Colorado, following graduation from Southern University in 1979. And I was born in New Orleans and grew up in Baton Rouge in the 60s and 70s. And even though I grew up in a family of brick masons, I often say I stumbled into the field of architecture. My grandfather, my dad, my uncles, all my older male cousins were all brick masons. But I did not make that connection to architecture until I graduated from high school. One thing I knew I did not want to be was a brick mason, because the heat, the hot summers of Louisiana, and the winters working in the rain, I saw how tough it was for my dad and my grandfathers, and I did not want to be a brick mason, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was the first in my family to attend college, but I had not planned to attend college until after I left high school. I enjoyed art and drafting classes in high school, but I was inspired by a girlfriend after graduation to attend college.
Wow.
And while on Southern University campus one day, which was really only about 2 miles from where I grew up, I ran into a friend from my neighborhood who had graduated from high school a year before I did. And he was majoring in architecture. He invited me to his studio, which is when I connected all the dots regarding my talent for drawing, my family background in construction. Even my mother used to draw all the time. She was really good in art. And I didn't make that connection until at that time when I went on Southern University campus and went to that studio. I did not get that connection to architecture. And even though I wasn't prepared for college, Southern University allowed me to major in architecture while also taking classes that I should have taken in high school. High school was integrated in Louisiana during my 8th grade year, and it was tough, not only for the students, but also for teachers, because there was no diversity training among the races, the black and white race. So it was a real challenge. I mean, we were not, young black bars were not encouraged to go to college.
Yeah.
And so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's this is why I love to do this show, because it's really all about, especially in our community, we had challenges and we just didn't have an open door. But when you just persevere and keep going, you reach the successes such as you have. So just amazing. You come from an HBCU at that. So
that's right.
Southern University, we want to point that out. That's big. And tell me, what led you the path to starting Neighboring Concepts? How did it end up, from college and an architectural degree to eventually starting and growing such a large firm?
Well, fortunately, I had the opportunity to work for several firms during the, I guess, several years before I started Neighboring Concepts. I worked in several firms in Denver, and then I came to Charlotte, worked for another firm, and it was a challenge because the lack of African American firms and individuals for me to aspire to be, it was just tough. It was hard, and so I ended up working for several white firms, majority firms, and I did work for two African American firms. It, it really became a challenge. I started wondering whether I had chosen the right profession because
Wow.
it was just a lack of diversity, and I was put into positions where I saw the kind of work they had me doing versus my colleagues, and it was all almost like Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah.
Greg Morris, the technical guy. We got the white guys doing all the creative stuff, and you help to make sure that their creative designs work. But I wanted to do design too. I wanted to understand all aspects of the profession. And it wasn't until I left my last firm and joined with Gant Huberman Architects, Harvey Gant's firm, our former mayor, where I was able to really expand my horizon and learn so much more about architecture. They allowed me to learn every aspect of the profession to the extent that I could have my own firm one day. And the culture of Neighboring Concepts is very similar to the way Gant Human culture was. I mean, we were able to actually get involved in doing a lot of different kinds of projects. There was a big focus on community engagement, and really just caring about people and making sure that architecture influenced and improved the lives of people.
That's awesome. One, because of the community aspect of it, it's I know your firm focus on the community here in Charlotte and then throughout North Carolina, and that's so critically important. But you bring that to pretty large regional impacting type projects, and so what has been one of your most memorable projects? Real estate is at the core of what I do, and it's at the core of what you do, right? It's architecture. So tell us about one of the most memorable projects that you've had.
Well, that's a tough one because there's something special about all of our projects.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to choose one project, I would say the adaptive reuse of 1230 West Moorhead. It was a 68,000 square feet dilapidated warehouse building at the intersection of West Moorhead and I-77
Yes.
that was adapted for use as an office building utilizing historic and state and federal tax credits. And I selected this project because, number one, we were both the architects and developers for the project, which at the time included two of my former partners, Chris Ogunrindi and Michael O'Brien, all who are also the co-founders of Neighboring Concepts.
Yeah.
Number two, because of its visibility and location. The dilapidated building gave a negative perception of the area, despite being on the edge of the most walkable, friendly, diverse, and one of just the best neighborhoods in Charlotte, which was historic Western Heights.
Yep.
And number three, this project really exemplifies our mission, helping to transform community through architecture. 1230 West Moorhead was a true catalyst for the transformation that took place along West Moorhead. The bright, vibrant area now called Fremore West is home to other transformed historic buildings, Class A office space, new luxury apartments, several businesses, and a variety of restaurants, including a new brewery. Believe it or not, this area was once considered on the wrong side of Interstate 77.
Yeah.
And look at it now.
Yeah. I absolutely love the area. Of course, my office is in the area now. I was once, with you in the office at one point at a time. So I absolutely love this area.
And we did a plan for the Western Heights neighborhood. And we knew that building was a key building to really help change the perception of the area. You know, you would never think that you had a neighborhood like Western Heights right behind this building, because it was just dilapidated. It was a storage building. The side facing downtown did not have any windows. You know, so that building really helped to let people know when once were able to sell condos in the building and bring other businesses over there. And there was one other building that was done prior to our building, which was the Coca-Cola building.
Yeah.
But I think these were the first two buildings that were transformed on West Moorhead.
Yeah, and I'll say that project that you did was the catalyst for a lot of redevelopment in the whole city of Charlotte. It's by far it because of where it was, literally a couple of 100 feet outside of the uptown part of Charlotte, right in visibility and walking distance to the Panther Stadium. So that was a phenomenal project. For sure, and a catalyst for how redevelopment just really moved fast speed forward in Charlotte. And so, awesome project, and one anyone should look at. Man, I still have dreams of doing a project like that in another city, but I want to live in the building. Give me a whole warehouse.
Mm-hmm. If I had to pick another project, it would probably be the Renaissance West, which is the former Boulevard Homes project.
Yep.
Where the whole 40 acres was transformed into a really new development, that really helped people feel better about their lives. This has a school and child development center. It was really a sustainable project that provided gardens for the seniors that live there. There was a separate senior building as well, a community center named after John Crawford. I just think it was one of the best projects that we ever had the opportunity to work on, transforming from public housing where 2 police officers had gotten shot many years ago to what it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great project as well.
And again, that unlike 1230 West Moorhead, that project was led by an African American developer, a Black female, Dion Nelson, with Laura Street Residential, and she gave us the opportunity to really get a lot more involved in housing. We before Renaissance, the only housing that we had done was mostly projects that we did on our own as developers, as infill developers. But Dion gave us the opportunity to really expand into affordable housing. And we're one of the top firms right now in the state, understanding all the requirements to do affordable housing, to try to get the best design that you could get to help people feel good about where they live, and at the same time making sure that it's efficient and cost-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Dion is a fabulous person. I've talked with on quite a few occasions, leaning on her experience around affordable housing. So, and that project is huge. It's another catalyst project that is a catalyst for all the growth going on the west side of Charlotte, for sure, on West Boulevard. In the heart of what I do now, I've really pushed hard in how we can get more minorities, young people, minorities involved in various types of businesses. So architect is no different. Me, I'm really focused everything around commercial real estate. However, I can get a kid involved based on what they do well, or their desires, their dreams, how we can get them into commercial real estate and start impacting. What is the best method for young people to pursue architecture?
Well, I think they need to do their research on different colleges that include architecture and understand the pros and cons of the different schools. I guess once they've come to that conclusion that that's what they want to do, there are several schools in our area, which includes, UNC Charlotte, Clemson, NC State, University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T has a program, but it's an architecture engineering program, and it's not accredited. And A&T, along with some other 4-year programs, may require a master's degree or additional studies from another school to become a registered architect. Some of the programs are 4 years and some are 5 years. Most of the 4-year programs will require you to go to another school for further studies to be able to get qualified to take the exam. A&T is probably the top engineering school in the country, and they do have architecture, but it's not one of the top architecture schools because it requires you to go to another school. It's not an accredited architecture program. And so I think students just need to do their homework in order to, understand the program that they're going to. And, students who may want to know more about architecture engineering, but may not be interested in becoming a registered architect, A&T would be a perfect school. One of the guys that worked for me for over 20 years was a graduate of A&T, so it's a great school. My mother-in-law and father-in-law attended A&T.
Wow.
And my oldest son did for a year until I gave him a car. And then he didn't have enough discipline. So I had to bring him back and let him finish at UNC Charlotte.
Yeah.
But it's also good to talk to other architecture students, who are in school along with architects, get to meet some architects. And even before you decide to go into architecture, you need to visit some architecture firms and make sure you understand what you're getting into. When I was coming up, I didn't know any architects. Like I say, I stumbled into it. Yeah,
that's so important, especially for young folks to know. You have to do a lot of research. I don't want to say a lot of research, but you do have to do a variety of research before choosing an area in which to go in. One, because it's just you sometimes see the dream of something, but don't know the background, the foundation, the bones of it, and so that's important.
And architecture is one of those where that's very critical because, I tell you, when I went to school, we probably had 60 students our freshman year in architecture, and only 7 graduated out of that class after 5 years, and so it's so important to understand the profession and to know the pros and cons about the profession as well, not just the school.
Yeah, very, very good information there. So earlier you mentioned development, your first development project. So tell us about your development pursuits now and how architecture fits into the development process. Because I realize a lot of being out here as a developer, as an investor in commercial real estate, it's a lot of education that constantly goes on. So tell us about, your pursuits now, and then, how architecture actually fits into the development process.
Well, it's not a lot of pursuits on the development side, right now. We've started to refocus back on architecture after 9/11. I'm working with the Griffin brothers and Terry Shook on a M2. We designed Mosaic Village over in West End on West Trade Street, and where our office is currently located. And we're really working on a phase 2 for the project, a brand new office building that would be about 70,000 to 80,000 square feet. And so that's the project we're currently working on the architecture and the development side. But when we started the firm in 1996, it was structured more as a non-traditional type of practice, which is indicative of the name Neighboring Concepts. We started the firm developing vision plans for socially and physically challenged neighborhoods, like the ones I grew up in, to help provide some hope to businesses and residents that their community could be just as good as any community anywhere. And our engagement process is always inclusive, authentic, making sure that we have a cross-section of stakeholders participating in developing a vision, which enhances ownership in the final plan. And as you know, there are lots of plans that sit on shelves and never get implemented.
Oh yeah.
And
Been in,
as a consequence, what happened? We started a real estate entity, which allowed us to participate and implement those plans. And that's what happened at 1230. We did a plan for Wesley Heights, and we participated in two other infill development plans in the neighborhood. And one of those developments is Summit Greenway along Stewart Creek, in the neighborhood, which we partnered with the neighborhood to make that project happen. And it also allowed us to own create our own architecture projects through the development projects that we were doing. So
yeah,
we did not have to depend on others bringing us 100% of our work in the architecture firm. But like I said, after 9/11 happened, we had to go back and refocus on design because that's what paid the bills.
yeah, yeah,
Real estate is very challenging. And while design services are generally less profitable than successful real estate projects, it's also less risky as well. Real estate is a risky business and you have to know what you're doing. And
yeah.
so we decided that we were not expert real estate developers, but we felt like we are expert architects. So we decided to focus on architecture. And as I transition out of the firm, my interest is to get back and doing some real estate development.
I understand at some point you have to make a decision to do something different. What I do here and talking to folks is a part of my legacy as well, to kind of move from doing projects to either financing them or teaching people how to do them. So growth is definitely necessary. So congratulations on that transition. And so that leads me into something I'm very passionate about. Is why this show is named the Wealth Generator Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about wealth generating. Tell me how African Americans, of which we're in that community, you and I, can pursue wealth building in this changing economy. You've been through a few. I know I've been through a few, so I know you've been through a few changes in the economy, recessions, in, out, growth, going down. So tell us about, based on your experience, how African Americans can pursue at this point in time when, it's changing, interest rates going up.
Well, I think students are to, even when you're in college, it's not too early to get a financial advisor, and
Yep.
particularly when you graduate. I think getting a good financial advisor, understanding real estate, invest in real estate and look for mentors who you aspire to be like and pick their brain, for valuable knowledge and wisdom based on their past experiences. A good financial advisor will help you to plan your future for retirement and build wealth by diversifying your portfolio, with a variety of different types of investments. Entrepreneurship is also a great way to build wealth by developing business in something that you truly enjoy doing. However, all businesses are not profitable, so it will require good, valuable experience, passion, courage, and just a lot of common sense. Making sure that you hire and partner with others who are smarter than you are with complementary skill sets. I mean, it's also good to know what you don't know and make sure that you fill those gaps, whether it's marketing, development, business, human resources, all the things that you have to do to have a successful business. And what I've learned over the 40 years in this business is that generally others have a better appreciation for our urban neighborhoods than we do. In
Wow.
some cases, affordability becomes an issue for those on fixed incomes, which is a real issue that creates a lot of challenges. However, on the other hand, for different reasons, we leave our neighborhoods and move to the suburbs to what is considered better and safer neighborhoods. And then we complain about gentrification and others moving into our communities. And in the meantime, the value of the real estate in these urban neighborhoods increase at a much higher rate than most suburban neighborhoods because of the easy access to the center city. And for so many other reasons, these areas are just, regardless of their past and the challenges, social and physical challenges, these areas improve at a faster rate, which increases property values.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things too that I'm always keen on, and I challenge people on, even if you live in the suburbs, it doesn't absolve you from owning these assets.
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean, a lot of people want to sell Big Mama's house, and just get the money, and
Hmm.
then before you know it, you get the little 20,000, 25,000 in cash, and before you know it, all the cash is gone. And
Exactly.
so,
Exactly.
you don't know how to ride the wave of wealth, right? So, what you said is definitely a real reality. We can
Yeah,
prove
when we moved in Western Heights several years ago. When I had one of my partners owned the house that we have now, and he was getting ready to put it on the market, and I bought it, and my wife was like, "I'm not moving over there."
it.
Now I can't get out of the neighborhood.
Exactly. It's close to everything, right?
That's right. It's a
Yeah.
diverse. I mean, it has the way the neighborhood was planned. It has a lot of duplexes, fourplexes, that really helps the neighborhood have some level of affordability. A lot of one bedroom efficiency units among larger houses.
Yeah.
So it's um, I think it's similar to the way the city is looking at the future of neighborhoods, being able to have diverse housing within neighborhoods instead of all single family homes.
Yeah, that's interesting how the new development ordinance here in the city of Charlotte was transitioned to and voted on here earlier this year. But it's really cool how it is some diverse opportunities to develop different type of houses and neighborhoods. I know it came with some opposition, but overall, I remember when it started, and some of the people that were on it. So it came out well. One of the things too I want to talk a little bit about based on your experience, and we didn't touch on it enough. But tell us a little bit about your transportation work here on the light rail, and reason why this is important because sometimes we think of African American owned firms of individuals of color that own these firms that they just do small projects. So tell us about regional impacting work you've done on the transportation projects, light rail system here in Charlotte.
Well, our first project that we got involved in related to alternate modes of transportation was the Charlotte Trolley.
Mm,
We got involved many years ago. The city, I guess it was more like an experiment. They created the trolley project from South End to Uptown. And I guess that project was really the catalyst of what really initiated the light rail. I mean, they saw how successful it was and how people were really anxious to get other modes of transportation here in Charlotte. And it really, I think what happened, the light rail kind of swallowed up the trolley,
hmm
well, initially they wanted it to work together, but
Yeah.
it just couldn't work because it's two totally different modes of transportation. And
Yeah.
so the light rail took over. And so as a result of our involvement with the Charlotte Trolley, which initially was mostly community engagement, it wasn't any architecture. It was a
hmm
lot of working with the community, work with land design to develop visions for the station locations. It was really a wonderful, great project. But because of that experience, it allowed us to, when the light rail project did start, it allowed us to get involved in that project as well. And so for the we there was one, that's why the DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise, is so important, because without the requirements, we probably would not have had the opportunity to design our first parking deck.
Wow.
The parking deck down at the end of the Blue Line extension, the Blue Line, not the extension, but the Blue Line down South Boulevard is a parking deck, and it was our first parking deck, and it ended up being one that it was a good partnership with the school system and the cats and the light rail and the city, because they did not have the school behind the garage did not have a playing field, and it was a big hole that dropped off, and it was too steep. And the cats partnered with the school system and built this parking deck, and on top of the parking deck is a green space.
Wow.
That kind of flattened out the backyard of the school. And so, and as a result of that project, it gave us the opportunity that now we've probably done over 20 parking decks,
Yeah.
But it was because of that first opportunity that gave us to get involved in designing parking decks. And we've gotten to the point now where we really understand how to make sure that the parking deck functions, but it's also that they also designed in a way that they fit in well with the surrounding communities from a design standpoint. And the most recent project that we finished with CATS is the Blue Line extension. Working with other majority firms, we focused on the vertical architecture, which included the parking decks, along with the bridges that crosses the parking decks. I mean, we did this work with many other consultants. We don't take credit for all this work, but it gave us the opportunity to continue expanding our expertise in transit architecture. And from there, we went and worked in the light rail that was planned in Chapel Hill or Orange County, where you had light rail system that was connecting Chapel Hill, Duke, and North Carolina Central to downtown Durham. So we were involved in the early planning of that project. Unfortunately, it did not continue, but we're currently working in Chapel Hill on I think it's a bus rapid bus facility, not a facility, but just a plan for buses.
Yeah.
And we've just had the opportunity to work on a lot of other projects. We're currently working on a Silver Line here in Charlotte, where the Silver Line will run down Independence through Uptown and then to the airport. And so our firm is also involved in that. So it has really given us the opportunity to expand and grow and probably become one of the best, the most knowledgeable transit architecture firms in the state that was born here locally in Charlotte.
Awesome work. Well, Darrel, I appreciate your time today. I know you're super busy going throughout the region, and so I just want to thank you for being a part of the Wealth Generator podcast. Give us some information about how we reach you, the best ways to reach out to you.
Well, let me also say that I'll be retiring from the firm later this year, and I'm very fortunate, to have 4 partners who I brought on to the firm to keep the firm going forward. I think I'm very excited about this transition because the 4 partners, Luke Volkmar, Daniel McNamee, both who've been with me for over 18 years.
Yeah, I know them well. Great.
And now
Great
and then we brought on Kathy Morrison and Frank Little, all very talented with complementary skills to ensure that Neighboring Concepts will continue to grow and expand while going from good to great and continue to transform communities through architecture. And I would say that, the success that I've had would not be possible without the support I've received throughout my career. I mentioned, Gant Human Architects, Harvey Gant, who was a major inspiration to even the start of Neighboring Concepts. My former partners, my current partners, my wife, who's a judge. I mean, and all the people that I've come in contact with, and the wonderful staff. I mean, the staff that we have, we could not have the success that we've had without just having wonderful people who believe the same thing we believe, that it's not all about buildings. It's also about people, and that's what we believe. So I just wanted to make sure I share that because I definitely don't take all the credit. I'm just a country boy from Louisiana, and I stumbled into some great people that has helped me become the person that I am. Yeah. And so, but my email address is Darrel@neighboringconcepts.com. NEIGH BORINGCONCEPTS.com. That's the best way to reach me.
Great. I want to personally thank you. One, because when I stepped foot in Charlotte, you were very instrumental for me getting involved on the public side and getting connected with the community, serving on some of the advisory boards that took me all the way up to chair Charlotte Water. So I want to thank you. Thank you again for all you've done for me personally. And we look forward to doing more in the future.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Yeah.
Yep.
And thanks for the opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Well, folks, this is the Wealth Generator Podcast. I'm Dorian Carter, President and CEO of On Point Partners and On Point Commercial. Podcast as you do every week. We look forward to the next great episode. Thanks, and have a great day.